Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another, yes, this is number 2 for today, episode of These Are Three Magazines. It's they're metal, but the masking tape, it's not the best, it's from like the dollar store or so. But anyway, I always show something in a video. This is what I like. I would show you my beautiful wife, but she's over there. And my wife ordered this for Lucky. They're little treats.
It's supposedly like a granola bar for a dog.
And they're 4 sections. But he already got, or 4 or 5 sections. 4. But he already got 2 of them. And he got one today already, so he's probably...
He's asleep.
He's asleep. I don't know if I can get it back in here. Anyway, what I wanted to say about this video, or say in this video, not about this video, but in this video, if you want to see what it is, and it's low fat, and Lucky could use some low fat.
He eats everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't eat him first.
I just got a message from, I won't say who it was from, because, well, it's nobody's business who this person is or what goes on in this person's life, but this video is intended for a particular person. I have bipolar, I don't have schizophrenia, but I have had psychotic episodes. So, I know when you see or hear something, it's real. I mean, it's essentially real. It sounds real. It looks real. It's really there to you. Nobody else sees it. Nobody else hears it. But you definitely do. Okay, I'll give you a personal example. When I was, before I moved into the apartment that burned down, I was staying at my mother's house for roughly a year, which was I don't know, I spent all those years trying to get her love and support, and never got it. But, and it's possible that she had the early onset of Alzheimer's, or not early onset of Alzheimer's, but it's possible that some of the early symptoms were showing up. I really don't know, because she was never that nice of a person. But she got really, really mean. And the only reason I was going to Clubhouse, it's the San Antonio chapter of Clubhouse is called Our House. I could provide you a link. I guess I could look one up. I don't know if there's one in the DFW area or not. I don't think there is. I know San Antonio has one. Houston has 2 or 3 of them. We actually have one here in New Cary, formerly New Hampshire, but it's on the coast. And anyway,
where everything's at.
Yeah. This is when our house was still located in Travis Park Methodist Church. Now they have their own building, not that far away from City Center. But anyway, I was staying at my mother's, and I would stay at Clubhouse all day. I would get there when they opened. I would get there before they opened. I would stay until they closed. And if I could find a way to stay later, I would. I preferred going back to the house with someone because that would reduce the chance of her yelling and screaming at me. I couldn't do that all the time. So what would happen is I would leave the building, and as I was crossing, or after I crossed the street to go and wait for the bus, I'd hear somebody calling my name. Now I heard somebody calling my name. Was somebody calling my name? No. I would look. I looked. There were quite a few people over in that area. A lot of the homeless would hang out in that. They'd hang out at the park over there where the bus stop was. And at the time, the church had a day program for the homeless. But I'd hear somebody calling my name. But there was nobody there calling my name. After the fire, I'm doing this right here. After the fire, I had no place to go but my mother's house, that or the streets. And after about a month, I just couldn't take her anymore. I didn't know what was wrong with her. At that point, I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And it turned out to be Alzheimer's. But she was meaner than ever. Anyway, so one day she kicked me out of the house, and it was her house. What could I do? And I went and I slept in, in San Antonio, it doesn't rain. And the one night, the first night I get out there, it rained. I was trying to sleep in this field. And I hear these people, and I see these people that weren't there because, the stress was causing a psychotic episode. So I got myself into the hospital, which I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do. But they took me in, and I think I went to Methodist Transplant, which was right there, but they didn't have any beds, so they transferred me to Methodist Metropolitan, which is closer to city center, closer to where the apartment burned down. And I stayed there about a week. That's about all they keep you nowadays. But what happened was, I got it. They found me a group home to stay in. Bad part of town, and I get over there and I'm like, oh my gosh, because they would take my check, and they'd only give me a little bit of it, and I'm like, you know what, if I stay here, I'm stuck for the rest of my life, because how am I going to get my check back? How am I going to save money to get my own place? So I'm stuck. So I stayed there one night. Next morning I got up, grabbed my stuff and left. Where did I go? Went to my mother's house. Stayed there about another month, but I stayed away from her as much as I could. Stayed gone as much as I could. But I got an apartment. I needed an apartment. I needed one. It wasn't an option at that point. And it wasn't a very good apartment. And I guess I could say, well, I should have known better, but the stress of the fire, the stress of dealing with my mother, the loss of my kitties, loss of my books, loss of pictures and family items that can never be replaced, and my cats can never be replaced. Bridget, Brew, Orshata, Mama Cat, aka Princess, and Negros was her baby, and Vitzi had passed away before I moved in there. He was Dovetail. But I had to have a place to live, and I moved into a place that, frankly, I did know better than to move in there. But I needed a place to live. It was cheap. It's easy to get into, so I moved in there.
When people have a group meeting, they sometimes are looking for...
So I can, to some degree anyway, I can understand when you have a psychotic episode, or when you hear things or see things. True, no one else sees them or hears them, but that doesn't make them untrue, so to speak. There are things you can do to learn to deal with them. I used to hear about people talking about reality checks. Like, let's say I was hearing something. I could ask my wife, am I really hearing this? You could ask your husband, do you hear this? And if he says no, or do you see this? And if he says no, then you realize that it's just in your head. It's not real. You know, I don't have to do that. But I'm just saying, if I did have these episodes, I could ask my wife. If my wife had them, she could ask me, do you hear this? Do you see this? Is this what I feel crawling on my arm really there? I'm not a psychologist or a social worker or a psychiatrist, so I don't want to say a whole lot about that because I don't want to give you bad advice. If you do that with him, and I think he's probably the kind of guy that could do it in a respectful, appropriate way. Otherwise, I don't think he would be married to him. I'll tell you about this person that I knew. His name was Tim. I don't remember his last name. I was at Fairweather Lodge, which I don't recommend. It's a group home setting. I didn't need to be in a group home. But anyway, I was at Fairweather Lodge, and this guy, he has schizophrenia, really bad. He's one of those people with schizophrenia that is like ultra intelligent, extremely high IQ, 140s, 150s, 160s. When I take an IQ test, it depends on how I'm feeling, insofar as if I'm having a good day and everything's working okay, I can get 100 plus on the score. If I'm having a bad day, I can get a pretty bad score. I mean, really bad. But it always comes out in the average range, even if it's very low average to very high average to just average to low average to okay average, whatever, But some people don't realize that an IQ test does have something to do with how you're feeling that day, how well you're doing. But anyway, Tim, he was a good guy. He was a big guy, tall and heavy, and he was from Galveston. And he did extracurricular activities in high school. He had, straight A's, very high GPA and all that. And then it started happening one day. He started hearing and seeing things, running outside naked, and well, anyway, when I knew him, he was doing pretty good, but he had diabetes, undiagnosed, therefore untreated. And his feet were swelling and cracking. And he would go to the hospital because mainly the schizophrenia, but the diabetes being untreated affected the schizophrenia, and it just made things that much worse. And like I said, swollen, cracking feet. And the doctors are so intelligent that they don't realize that he needs to be checked for diabetes. Finally, after umpteenth hospitalization, they realize he's diabetic, and they get his blood sugar level, and then everything's back to, he's doing great again. But they wouldn't let him have his meter. Our medicine was kept in a safe, and there was one person in the house that knew the combination of the safe. Yeah, he was not allowed to have his meter, was not allowed to have any of his diabetic supplies.
Oh, God.
He was an intelligent guy. If they would have taught him how to use that stuff, he would have known how to use it. He would have understood things about his diabetes and about the equipment that most people wouldn't understand. But they wouldn't let him have it. So what happens? He gets sick again because his blood sugar goes. And when he winds up in the hospital, so they wind up kicking him out of Fairweather Lodge, saying, well, you have to be in a place where there's a nurse. Well, if they would have given him his supplies and taught him how to use it, well, he told me they taught him how to use the monitor while he was in the hospital. Great. But they wouldn't let him have it in the house. You don't test yourself once a day. I have my issues with Fairweather Lodge. There was a girl staying in one of the other houses who was being
I've already tested mine 3 times a day.
If you didn't hear my wife, she tests her 3 times a day, at least.
I think I've already tested it 3 times
Oh,
a day.
already today she's tested it 3 times. There was a girl who was staying in one of the other houses at Fairweather Lodge, and she was being sexually harassed. She was trying to, she was going to people saying, look, can you deal with this? I've told them to stay away from me or whatever. They wouldn't help her, so she moved out. I'm like, I have my issues with Fairweather Lodge. Not a program I endorse. But, look, I'm letting you know right now that I can appreciate you having an episode. It happens, if you hear I understand that when you hear it, it sounds real. It could sound like somebody else is actually talking to you, or even if it is in your head and you realize that, it's still powerful. If you hear somebody tell you that we don't like you, we don't love you, we don't care about you, we don't want you, that's not true. Okay, that's not true. We love you, we want you, we care about you. You're our daughter. You're one of our 2 daughters. Both of our daughters have schizophrenia. Oh well. So maybe that's something you 2 can talk about, although I shouldn't have said that right there, but it's too late. But anyway, so this video is almost 20 minutes long. And
Who I think it is.
Dallas.
Huh?
The one in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that bad, huh?
Yeah. So don't think we don't care about you. We do. So we're here for you, baby.